Hello friends! It's been quite a while since I posted a process video, and I wanted to start this one a little bit differently by taking you to Silburn Arboretum with me. I often come to this arboretum when I feel uninspired or lost, which is exactly how I was feeling when I visited last week. I did know that I wanted to look at seed structures because of their beauty, variation, and high visibility in winter. As I made my way through the arboretum, I revisited previous illustration subjects like boneset, goldenrod, milkweed, and southern magnolia. After seeing a few trees with cone-like structures, I eventually realized I wanted to focus on conifers, and I started visiting some of my favorite trees in the arboretum. I've always had a soft spot for spruce, eastern hemlock, and red cedar trees, and seeing them in person reminded me how much I love drawing them all separately. I decided to draw them together this time in celebration of some of my favorite conifers. With my study species chosen, it was time to head home to sketch. Before starting my sketches, I make a gallery of reference photos in my Notion Botanical Study page. I really like using Notion for this because I can see most of the reference photos at once, and it helps me set the color palette and shape language for whatever subjects I'm drawing together. Most of my botanical studies start out in the sketchbook as quick thumbnails or random sketch studies, which I'll be doing today. Along with my reference photos, I actually have a few specimens of the plants I was curious about drawing. My studio is, unsurprisingly, full of things like pine cones, acorns, and seeds, and I keep them in little jars around my desk so that I can easily grab them when I need some quick reference. At this point, I wasn't sure if I wanted to include flowering plants, so I also included this tiny magnolia seed pod that I had. To warm up, I did sketch studies of eastern hemlock, spruce, and southern magnolia cones. I don't currently have a good overhead camera setup for traditional work, so sorry this footage was taken at an angle. I hope you still enjoy these clips of me sketching anyways. I did some more doodles and quick thumbnails on my sketchbook that I forgot to record footage of, but after that I brought out my iPad to finalize the sketch in Procreate. I have a canvas preset in Procreate for my Patreon botanical studies specifically, and I work at 5 by 7 inches at 600 dpi in case I ever want to scale up the illustrations for larger format printing. I also work in an RGB color mode because Procreate CMYK files don't translate well into Photoshop, which I'll use later for further formatting. I started out with a rough composition sketch that was informed by the thumbnail I had done in my sketchbook earlier. I like to do an even tighter sketch, so when I'm doing the line work, I have more precise guides for where to place my final lines. At this stage, I also brought in a picture of the spruce study I did in my sketchbook earlier so that I didn't have to sketch it all over again. I try to focus on leaf shape language and making sure the cone scales look right in this stage so I don't have to fuss with them later. I also took this opportunity to revise my color study a little bit before finalizing the illustration. After I was happy with how the sketch was looking, I moved on to line work, which is often the most time-consuming part of my illustration process, so I sped it up just a tiny bit more for you guys. Once the line work was done, I made some tiny adjustments to the composition, like changing the border frames and spacing the elements out more. I also grabbed hues from my color study to pick from so I don't have to keep turning my color study layer on and off as I painted. And here's how the final illustration came out after I added in the species labels. I format all of my text by working in an Affinity Publisher document, then copying over the text as a Photoshop Smart Object so I don't lose any text quality. So that's all for the first botanical study of 2023. I had a lot of fun with this one. I hope you all enjoyed seeing a more in-depth look into my illustration process, from the beginning inspirations to the end result. It was really fun taking you all along to the Arboretum with me, especially since it's a big part of my process that I usually don't get to share. So definitely let me know if you'd like to see more footage of that. Thank you for continuing to be a part of my art journey, and I will talk to you all soon.